Yesterday, I was working on some of my articles from the New Beginnings channel upon Metallicman, and I came across some things that disturbed me. Hello, people. Good morning. I hope this video finds you well. There's nothing more disturbing to me than reading, watching warmongers, whether they're doing it intentionally for money or out of ignorance. Mike Pompano, these other neocons, and they are going to facilitate some nasty changes in the globe for one reason or the other. I'm going to tell you a couple things right off the bat. Those of you who think that the United States can maintain the American century are delusional. It's over. The United States century is over. It's a new century coming in. So give up the tenacious hold that you have that makes you think that by destroying the rest of the world, the United States will remain strong. It's over. It's a new life, a new world, a new beginning, and the old is going away like the scaled skin of a snake as it moves towards a new reality. And you have to accept that. Accept that as a fact. And I was thinking about talking about this aspect of what these guys said, and I still might do so. I really still might talk about it. But it's just mind-boggling. It's like me trying to argue with people talking about why Shanghai is still in lockdown. People don't want to hear it. They want to think that China's crazy because everybody knows that coronavirus is a hoax and other nonsense like that. Sometimes you just can't fight this narrative. It's a hose of bullshit. It'll knock you down. Step out of the way. Just step out of the way. And I'm going to talk about why and how dangerous all this is, briefly.
بخشی دارم زندگی غم و چقدر خوشی دارم در زندگی فکر نکن که تنهاستی چون مسلمان هستی و با خداستی وقتی نداشتی شهرت کسی نیست دقیقید کل میبینم سر مطرف بایسید نگاهی که تو را سعی میکنه کلش قاتل است حرفای دشمن گوش نکن کلش باطل است اما دی میگه که ما مثل توستم در وقت خرابتم ما در پشت توستم او از کلش برک سردردی پشت قسیم خوش که هیچ وقت نگردی وقتی نداشتی شهرت کسی نیست دقیقید کل میبینم سر مطرف بایسید سر بلند باش که فردا روز نو است باش که صبر قلبت آوازش بلند است Du kennst jeden Tag immer wieder aufs Neue. Fragt sich, wann bin ich da in der Welt meiner Träume? Fragt sich, wo führt er hin? Der Weg, den ich gehe. Du solltest nicht mehr zögern, deinen Weg einfach gehen. atmen kann, wenn ich immer weiter kämpfen. Interessiert mich nicht, was die Leute über mich denken. Viele Menschen heutzutage denken nur an sich. Menschlichkeit, Gerechtigkeit gibt es leider nicht. Es ist kalt manchmal draußen, die Gefahr lauert draußen. So viel Neid gibt's da draußen, sehr viel Flug herrscht da draußen. Manchmal denkst du, warum funktioniert es einfach nicht? Vieles versucht dich zu blocken und verhindert dich. Es ist traurig, aber wahr, manchmal kommst du gar nicht klar. Den schweren Rucksack, den du trägst mit vielen Steinen, lass sie da. Bei schlechten Zeiten keiner da, in guten Zeiten jeder da. Das Leben ist halt ungerecht, gab viele Dinge, die ich sah. Külüm bina sunu mutarif vaysin Sar bilan bosh gefaridon ro'zi navas Durchgesada kalbete gavon ich belandas Du kämpfst jeden Tag immer wieder aufs Neue Fragst dich, wann bin ich da in der Welt meiner Träume Fragst dich, wo führt er hin, der Weg, den ich gehe Du solltest nicht mehr zögern, deinen Weg einfach gehen Was denn durch mich oder kassenes, da passiert Külüm bina sunu mutarif vaysin Sar bilan bosh gefaridon ro'zi navas Durchgesada kalbete gavon ich belandas Du kämpfst jeden Tag immer wieder aufs Neue Fragst dich, wann bin ich da in der Welt meiner Träume Fragst dich, wo führt er hin, der Weg, den ich gehe Du solltest nicht mehr zögern, deinen Weg einfach gehen
I am not going to parse the words of Mike Pompano or these other neocons. I'm just going to have to say a couple of things, though. First of all, keep in mind that America fought China once, and China won. That Korean War thing, China won. The United States fully intended to completely take over Korea. The best they could do was a draw, separating Korea into a north and south. That was the best they could do when America was at the peak military power. So get that through your thick skulls, people. The last time America fought China with all of its massive power, it lost. Number two, that was fighting against poorly armed and trained insurgents. China today is pure capable, aggressive military that is defensive in nature, but they don't stop for shit. You want to fight China? You do so at your own peril. 3. China right now is playing tit for tat. You do something to China, it does it back to you. We're going to see the manifestation of some of these tit for tats hitting America here within the next year regarding food and trade and things. So anybody who thinks that they're going to be able to detonate a nuclear bomb on Chinese soil to thwart China and warn them is a complete delusional asshole idiot. China would go full retaliatory back. There won't be anything left of the United States. Remember, people, China is 5 times the size of the United States. And they're all merit-driven. 4, 5, I don't know, I lost count on what I'm saying. Another point is that while China doesn't want war and is peaceful, if you really provoke war, and the United States is provoking war, everybody can see it. So let's just kind of open the curtains and see things as they actually are. The United States is going to get a war that's going to make some kind of false flag or come reason or cross a red line, generate a war, and the United States is going to be ready to fight in China. No, that's not going to happen. You fighting in China? It's going to be fighting in Los Angeles. It's going to be fighting in Detroit. It's going to be fighting in New York City. No, it won't be paratroopers going down there. China will fucking devastate what little is left in functional America. And it is. America is very dysfunctional right now. The moment you see one overweight person riding those 4-wheeled scoots in Walmart tells you all you need to know about the state of America society. America doesn't have a chance. So, why are these people doing this? Do they have a death wish? You got somebody who's peaceful. Why are you picking on him? I like to think that they're idiots, but there's probably other reasons for it. Maybe they actually believe their delusions. Things in engineering and science, you learn something called sanity checks. You get involved in so many complex equations. And I mean, they're complex, really big complex equations. And you remember, I'm classically trained, okay? And so you have these big derivatives and equations that you have to solve, and you have to come up with defined answers to solve particular problems. And so you do so. But you don't know if you're in the right ballpark, because after you go through everything, and it's step after step after step after step, and calculation to calculation, you go through all this stuff, and you don't know if you're in the right ballpark. Is the answer? So you do something called a sanity check. It just tells you the scope and the magnitude of what the answer should be. For instance, if you're adding 25.0047852492587 plus 1.78977555464, you know that the answer will be in the magnitude of 25, 26, because you round off everything to one significant figure, and you say, okay, it's 24 plus 1 is around 25, so the answer should be around 25, and you go through your calculations. Everything should be done with sanity checks, and people don't know this because many people are not classically trained. And so when I'm watching the news, people are saying, yeah, we can beat China, we can beat Russia, we can do this. Sanity checks, population, geography, resources, energy. Compare them. If you have a household, and I saw this, a sanity check to help people understand how United States debt works. And they just rounded off all the zeros. And they described a household that made $35,000 a year with a debt equal to $300,000 and interest equal to $70,000. That is not a sustainable house. It's not a sustainable house. It's not a sustainable life. It's a sanity called a sanity check. So people can go ahead and parse, and that's what I'm seeing on the internet. These people take one little aspect and then study it in great details, ignoring all the other aspects. Obviously, Mike Pompeo is planning to run for office, president. Knowing he's fucked up the United States, he has a good chance of maybe winning. And if that happens, you will see the end of the United States. Fighting Russia, as far as all this illusions that Russia is losing in the Ukraine is beating the living crap out of Russia because it's got the NATO backbone. Moment NATO, and sure, they're finding NATO fighters embedded here and there, and the mercenaries and all this stuff. And the moment Russia says, okay, I'm going to stop playing these shadow puppet games. I'm going to go all out serious. It's going to be over. Russia's the big bear. And China is this massive coiled dragon. I don't think anybody out in the West has any idea just how bad being beaten up by these two would actually manifest and actually appear and actually be. I don't think anybody has the clue. Don't fight the dragon. Looks like a cute panda bear, but it's a fucking dragon. Don't fight it. Both China and Russia are looking at fighting from a position where there are no other alternatives. They want to avoid fighting. And of course, I wanted to throw this out because the stuff I'm reading is just irresponsible gibberish, and it's angering. Rose my blood pressure yesterday. I read this Mike Pompano saying that Taiwan should be given protection status as an independent nation. I was like, oh, God, if you only lived in China, you have no idea the consequences of 1.6 billion people furious at you. By the way, China and Russia are both mass producing high velocity nuclear weapons with multi warheads, all capable of independent IA and movement. The United States has no defenses against that. Nor does Australia, nor does Japan. China just wants to be friends with other people. But if you really want to kick China, if you really want to hurt China, as you have been, there will come a time when China says, and you're gone. These people, Mike Pompano, Southern Neocons, this asshole professor from Georgetown University, they've never been next to a person who was killed. They don't know what it's like to have blood on your hands, how sticky it feels. They don't know what it's like to be pushed up against the wall and pummeled until you black out. They don't know what it's like to live without food for a month. How your stomach shrinks and you drink water to fill it. And how weak you feel. You get up with some energy that lasts maybe 3 minutes and then you're really weak. They don't know what it's like. And they don't know what it's like to sacrifice time and effort for studies to become hard and be the best you can be. While people who are out of shape, ignorant, lackeys are given positions because they give somebody a blowjob. They don't know what it's like. But I think that they're going to find out. All evidence seems to point that they're going to find out. And I know I keep on being reassured. Little bads, not big bads. But it's coming. It's an out-of-control train, and it's marching forward. Every evidence seems to point that the only thing that the rest of the world, now I mean the rest of the world, I mean South America, Africa, much of Asia, can do is to just do a preemptive nuclear strike and just glass over the United States and Europe. And then move on with the rest of the world. That seems to be the only rational thing to do right now. Other things, getting involved in American electoral politics and that, I don't think Russia or China or Iran, North Korea has that ability. But glassing over entire states, yeah, they have that ability. Rand has done studies on what it would be like for the United States to take on China one-on-one, with everybody else in the world staying out of it. The United States takes on China with the help from Australia, with the help of Korea, with the help of Japan, with the help of NATO. And Rand studies said China won, America lost. Except now we know on February 4th that you're now fighting Russia and China combined. So there's this idea that America will always be safe because it has two oceans. People, I want to tell you something. It doesn't exist anymore. There is no safety behind an ocean any longer. None. Zero. You will not survive, and it saddens me. It saddens me. But I do want to see a nice future for the world. That's something I really want to do. See a nice future for the entire world. And that means that there has to be changes. And so we're witnessing these changes that are coming up. And they're being driven by some very, very fucked up people, obviously. And I remember Putin's exhaling. He's like talking to some of these European weenies, Euro weenies. He was like, you don't understand what we're talking about here. He's trying to tell them. So what's going on right now in Russia, and what will soon start going on in China, is this idea that, okay, you don't want to live in a world without Russia. So you're going to destroy Russia? Fine. We're going to take you out. The only thing is, Russia is sparse. And what will remain of the United States and Europe will not be worth anything. And I lament that. Using historical norms, destruction by the United States by Russia is becoming clearer every single day. And hopefully that'll happen before the United States starts picking on China. Because China assesses a situation and then goes 110% immediately. It goes from 0 to 60 in a second. What I'm trying to say here is that the train is on the tracks. It's moving forward and will have a spectacular train crash. The tracks are laid down. There is no way that what we're witnessing is going to move to something different. There's no way.
It starts with 练少点的烟问你们隔壁是过树冠店里面的妈妈上场的有3段教群岛武士老板猎铁沙场耍呀加强印尼的空服最擅长后军种照片真我该我打开任督二脉东亚兵分的炸败已被我出脚踢开耍的要上点棍我只用少点棍进入里面
I think, again, recognizing, we are there to defend democracy. And the fact is, eventually, we will see some benefit in the business over time. Everything that's being shipped into Ukraine today, of course, is coming out of stockpiles, either at DOD or from our NATO allies. And that's all great news.
The anti-China, anti-Russia media and rhetoric out of the United States is at a insanity pitch. The propaganda against Russia and China is at a fevered pitch. All of us who are Americans know what that means because we have been witnessing our entire life how the narratives are generated. And just like those brave Americans who volunteered to fight with the Nazis against Russia, found out. It's not that fun. War is not that fun. War is nothing you want.
We have nothing more to say. Let machine guns and cannons talk for us. Gentlemen.
谈判석에서 얻을 수 없는 것을 전장에서 얻을 거라 생각해 절대로 하지도 마.
用不了多长时间，你们还是会回到谈判桌。到时候你们一定会自觉地收回这个厚颜无耻的方案。
洋人看不起我，今年能在战场上。
And I wish in my own little way I could persuade people to stop talking this nonsense and persuade everybody to give it up. That's so much I wish you would listen to me. My little voice is so tiny. Nobody hears my little voice, and they don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be over, guys. I'm going to pass through a peak in the year, next year, year after. By the end of 2025, it's just going to be dust. Things will settle. I hope you all find a nice, safe place to hide.
While China is all but guaranteed to become the world's largest economy and the dominant global political power in the coming years, you really shouldn't get too worked up about it, because sometimes in life, other people beat you. And even if that makes you sad, the only thing you can do is accept it and move on. These things happen. And part of growing up is realizing that there's no shame in being number two. Besides, just because someone else may have done a little better than you doesn't mean you can't still do a great job too. Being the runner-up doesn't mean you're bad at all. So cheer up. And remember that not everything's going to go your way every time, and that's okay. Sound good? Great. Now go get 'em.
To ride out the storm. And no, it's not going to be a zombie apocalypse. All these images of what the end of the world looks like is not portrayed or conveyed properly. It's not Hollywood. It's awful. It's very, very awful. The only way for you to get through it is to be part of a community, to be good, to control your thoughts, and find strength within your own local community. And with this, I wish you well. Be part of a community, do your best. And at that, guys, I want to end up with my basic words of advice. Be good. Smile. Make a difference in the world that you live in. Be good to dogs, cats. Be helpful. Be the Rufus. Participate. Don't be a spectator. And when the situation calls, take action. And at that, guys, remember,